Regular city council meeting for Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. I'll be your host for this evening. My name is Tom Detman. I'd like to call this meeting to order and start out with an invocation by our highly esteemed mayor, Mr. John Chu.
Thank you, Chief. Please bow with me. Lord, thank you once again for the wonderful day that we have, the wonderful time, the wonderful city. We ask that as we move into the proposed holiday season, we remember why it is, and it's just not a bunch of holidays in it. It's remembering what we're thankful for and who got us to where we are today. We ask that you watch over our city council as they make sound and right decisions, and our staff as they continue to run the city in the fashion that it has been run. We ask that we do all we do in your name, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start this meeting out by finding out who's here tonight. Ms. Haley, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Shute.
Here.
Bishop.
Here.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Mendo. Stewart.
Here.
Detman.
Here. I'd like to announce business from the audience procedure. If you have anything that's not on tonight's agenda, there's a couple of pieces of paper right up here on the conference room desk, and if you'll fill those out and give them to Mrs. Haley later on in the agenda, we'll call you up and we can discuss whatever you'd like. I think we're going to go right straight to the mayor's report.
All right, a few things that happened in the last couple of weeks. We had the White Cane Day. It was a nice little event. The Blind put on a good little show, had a good attendance, and we had Halloween. If y'all had missed that the last weekend, had a lot of kids on the circle. Halloween on thanks to the Sebring Partnership. They put that on, and all the first responders that showed up, there was a ton of kids down there again. I think they spread it out. I think there was more than last year. Last year it was kind of compacted, but from the Baptist Church had given away, I think, 1,900 hot dogs and sausages and drinks and everything that night, and just a ton of people were downtown. So thanks to you and your crew. So
I gotta
Kathy.
say, I did not help with that event, but I have an amazing church.
Oh, then no
so.
thanks to you then. So, but it was good, and we had Farmers Market got fired back up. Thanks to Dan for getting that thing started a couple years ago. I really kind of liked it down there. It was a little more compact, so it looked a little more festive as a farmer's market. Had a great response. A lot of people, bread guys sold out
Meat guys
early.
sold out too.
Meat guys sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, so there's a very, very good attendance. So that's happened, and I think it'll be probably even better this weekend because we have the art festival on Saturday. So the farmers market will be running during the art festival. So I think it's going to be a big show. So the Art League's putting on their annual art festival. That'll also be good. We have, of course, the farmers market coming up on Veterans Day. We won't meet before Veterans Day. So thanks to all you that are veterans that are here, and I appreciate what you've done for our country. We have, of course, the Little Theater's got a show coming up starting, I think, Friday. I'm not Clue. So it looks to be a pretty good. It's based on the game of Clue, so please, if you're looking at that. And then also on November 9th at the First Sebring Church is the Blessing of the Businesses. And it's always a good event if you have a business, and it's kind of a thanks to what small business does for the city of Sebring. So if you want to attend in that, you get with somebody at the church. But that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that briefing. Well, we'll go right into council members' concerns, comments, and liaison reports. We'll start with Mr. Stewart to my left.
A couple things. I want to mention some TDC-sponsored events coming up in the near future. The first one is the Citrus Golf Trail on November 29th. Is coming to Sebring in Hines County. The next is the Spartan World Championships in December, the 10th, which means you guys got a month to get ready for that. That's a no?
That's a no for me.
Bernard does it, I'll do it. So.
The last is the Citrus Golf Trail Ladies Invitational, December 27th, and you might have remembered it used to be called the Harder Hall Invitational, so it's back, and that's all TDC stuff, and they are on doing really well with collections. And they're going to hit the 1.5 million for this past fiscal year. which is a wonderful
That
thing.
is good.
Great for the community.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Thanks, Mr. Stewart.
You're welcome.
Mr. Carlisle.
Well, as usual, the mayor steals my thunder, but that's okay. I was downtown with a Halloween thing, and man, the kids were everywhere. That was good to see. It really, I like to see things happen downtown. It brings things downtown because we want it to grow. And I went trick-or-treating to one place. My friend there gave me a cup of Cuban coffee. That got me wound up. And I'm like the mayor. I just want to thank everybody that served our country in the military. I was honored to do that, and I'd do it again. It's an honor to serve our country, and even with the first responders, our police departments and our sheriffs and our firemen and all the guys and gals that work on the ambulances, we all need to be thankful for them because they do a great job. And I just want to say thank you to all of those people as well. And we got our chief back there. He shows up to some things now and then. So but anyway, that's what I got to say.
Mr. Bishop.
All set, no report.
No report.
No report.
Well, that's okay. And everybody said everything I've got to say, so I think we'll just move right along into the consent agenda. We do have 9 items on tonight's consent agenda. If there's anyone that would like to speak on any one of those 9 items before I entertain a motion, I'd be happy to hear from you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion on
I make a motion.
consent agenda.
I make a motion we accept the consent agenda as proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, Mrs. Haley. Any discussion up here on the dais? Call the roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Detman.
Yes. Okay, going right into no old business, item 9A. We're gonna end up sending this right over, I believe, to the city administrator. This is the Westlake Jackson Infrastructure Upgrade Project. This is a big deal. And the way you can tell by that is when you get your agenda packet at home and you put it on the scale and it weighs about 2.5 pounds, you know that's gonna be the lion's share of tonight's discussion. So I'm gonna turn that right over to Mr. Nagle. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. On the agenda is the Westlake Jackson Infrastructure Upgrade Project. Tonight, we're going to be approving some resolutions and the project loan application. Back in June of this year, Council contracted with Civil Serve to perform a Phase 2 of the Westlake Jackson Infrastructure Upgrade Project at a cost of $1.455 million. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but that is for engineering, all 4 phases of that design, if you will, correct?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and stand up. Got Craig Fuller. Do you want me to list an address? I just want to make sure but Craig Fuller with Civil Serve Design Group, and yeah, it's for we'll call it, just to separate the phase 1, 2, 3, that we'll call it A, B, C, D, right? So it's all 4 portions of the project, and it was just to kind of split it up into much more manageable and definitive sub-projects. With the 4 being the really, really large conveyance that you already have, and then the other being by area and infill around those 4 major conveyances. And so this, basically what my intent here was is 1, to give you an update on the project, where it sits, 2, to give you some options, but also 3 is the really good news is we have your mayor did not steer you wrong. The interest rate proposed is 0.018%, and I will challenge you to find a better rate. So it's he was not wrong. Yeah, you were correct. I had no idea it was going to go up so much because of certain underlying conditions, be it average wage, size of your city, the density, the location that you qualify for many reductions. So where your standard rate would be 3.24, you get a reduction down to 0.018, most nearly zero. So over the entire period of, let's call it wasted money on interest, it's only like $1,700 on a $1.5 million loan. That's pretty incredible. So just to give you an update then on where we sit, that's just one of your conveyances, but going through, there's 28 separate ones, and this will actually combine quite a few of them into where they probably could or should go, just to reduce the number of needed easements and needed right-of-way. I don't want to go into too much on it, but what we kind of discovered is what we thought was a roadway issue really is a drainage issue. And if we don't fix the underlying drainage, and I think that was exacerbated, and for both of us to give us credit on a prediction, we had predicted that a couple of those had a potential to blow out, and I guess one of them did. And these are the first 4 that we're really looking at. We want those fixed first. So just to move down to the next one, this is kind of what the end solution would look like. We're going to try to reconvey as much of the huge amounts of water into large canals as we can, but the runoff, we're going to route it through inline treatment units and then kind of clean up your lakefront and have it go through like a bubble up type structure that should make access for and actually the intrusion of stormwater a lot less obvious, right? Because it'll only overflow and kind of go over some rock when you've got a big rain event, as opposed to maybe some goes down a really deep canal, some goes down an end structure that's kind of cut off at a 45, and just kind of a trip hazard sort of thing. So moving on from the next one. So again, the first 4 that we'd look at are Dawn, I know, because we were just looking at that today, Pinewood, and then the Lake Sebring West overflow, and St. Agnes, and then there's that last one that's just north of Don Jose. What we're doing is kind of combining a couple of those together. 13 and 14 are so close, we're just going to kind of route those together. And then the next phase would be, let's call that B, would be to design between 1 and 12, excluding the ones we've already done, and then going to 14 to 21, excluding the ones we've done. And then there's a little bit of overlap, but mostly that's on the resurfacing, because once you do like the mill and resurface of your road, we just want to make sure everything kind of rides evenly and things like that. So, and then I believe the next one that'll kind of give you the summarized total of what each phase is, and there's an estimate total, and then just a realistic, the cost over time. It obviously has been escalating. We did a recent update, but that's where we're estimating the total will be. Luckily, there's a ton of grants available, and just breaking it down, this is just one of the required motions. You've already approved the actual agreement for us to design, but we want to make sure the earliest phase of that, which we've completed now, is the loan app, which is, if you're doing it by the pound, it's like you said, it's the biggest item on here, but it breaks it down. It's over a 10-year period. You get a 0.02 interest rate, so you're borrowing, and there's some loan fees from the DEP. So I don't want to hide that, but your total is like 1.493 on a 1.466, something like that, or 1.468, where the 1.468 is all getting spent. The 1.493 that's the loan fees, the interest, everything, full in. So that's the, or your actual loan, I should say, is 1.491. Once you add in the interest, it's 1.493. So that's the difference between the two. And then just to kind of go through the process where we are, I tried to italicize each item that we'd already done. We went for a request for inclusion. That's our partner, who unfortunately he was out of the area and wasn't available for tonight's meeting, but he'd gotten us a request for inclusion, got us on, got us included, and definitely said we qualified for all of these as a non-point source. And so now we're we did the planning, we've completed that, facilities plan, it's gone through, it's been accepted, we're actually going through just a couple comments with the DEP. You guys have accepted that as well. We're moving that as part of that, that's where some of the capital funding plan, and that's already gone forward, and then based on that, that's where we've put together this loan app. And again, just to try to get it out of the way, that's the bolded item. So we're now in the design loan. We've prepped the app, and we just have to get it approved by council, just the next step. And then so you know, the next steps obviously is construction loans. And you don't have to get it all at once. You can pull the entire amount if you want, and then have them build in phases, and just kind of, I'll say that's exactly how we intend it. That's how we're gonna break it up, is design it into these kind of 4 chunks, so that each one can get bid separately, because that makes more sense as far as trying to get grants and get funding. And also, obviously, if rates are high, that's not a great time to take a big loan, right? But I will say, if the other thing, when rates are high, grants tend to be high as well, and that's part of what's driving rates up, right? So we've got a really great potential to get on, and there's a few of them, I think on the next sheet, kind of lists some of the grants that you can go through. We see CFI is being a huge contributor potentially, because they've wanted, they actually approached us because we were doing a decent amount of work over in some of the coastal communities, getting them grants for similar types of projects, and they said, hey, you guys are located in that area. Do you think any of the communities over there might look at doing something to improve the lakes? Because we're going to start, no secret here, I don't think, is they're going to start looking at water quality much, much closer. And if you guys are at the front of it, they'll obviously be elated, but also give you better consideration for, because you're not only solving flooding issues that we know exist, but you're solving water quality issues as well, because this is a regional, Lake Jackson's a regional water receiver and conveyor through Little Lake Jackson, then eventually onto Okeechobee. So you guys are actually part of the BMAP, they call it, Basin Management Action Plan for Lake Okeechobee, because of where you are and where the water all eventually goes.
Craig, can I just ask you a
Yes.
question about that kind of grant? What's the process in that, and when does that start?
So normally, every grant that's given, typically the cooperative funding, is typically done at the time of construction, but they will count your design dollars, I'll say, against that. If you do it too early, if you don't have a design in place, they will typically score you much, much, much lower. And I'll say, as an example for that, a group that they used to fund all of it, and they still do fund all of it. It's the totalized grouping of it. But a group we used to just get design and construction loans and grants with. We've steadily gone down the list. We used to be near middle to top of the list, but they tend to score us lower now, because if you're competing against a project that has a set of design plans and they can actually build it tomorrow, that's when they're going to score the highest, because it's only good for a certain amount of time. But yeah, once you get, and that's the other reason we wanted to split it into pieces. If you construct all of this at once, most of these agencies don't have the $20 million to give you, but they do if you break it into pieces. So it's kind of the 4 to 5 is right in their sweet spot. And then that was another item that I know is kind of being discussed or considered, at least, is if we split off it further than that. We can, if it behooves us, meaning like if they want to cap grants off, we can always split it into pieces. Any other questions?
Answer your questions. Any other questions up here?
Not really, we're committed at this point.
Okay. Scott, did you have anything else you needed to add onto this package?
So included are the 4 attachments.
Right,
One's the loan application
right.
for the project itself, a resolution authorizing the loan application and loan agreement, establishing pledged revenues, designating an authorized representative, providing assurances, providing for conflict, severability, and effective date. Resolution number 2022-27, authorizing budget amendment number 10 to appropriate funds for loan proceeds and costs related to the project beginning fiscal year 2022-2023. And resolution 2022-28, authorizing budget amendment number 251 to appropriate funds for loan proceeds and costs incurred through 9/30/22.
Craig, one more question. What is your time frame to get us to a shovel-ready project?
Let me ask Mark real quick because I think I have an estimate, but I don't want to
Okay.
throw out anything. I think it's.
I mean, if you're off by a few days, it's fine. So.
Yeah, it's so. I will tell you,
Couple
there are certain
Couple hours or so.
There are certain things that hold up. Notably, this like the funding.
Right.
But go ahead. I think we can. You can speak to the design and. Yeah, I was gonna say the design and construction. The design of the construction element schedule is, I would say, probably early next year, roughly. Like not next year, but year after. It's gonna be like 14 months, roughly. That's
2024 is when
Yes.
the design will be done.
correct. Yes, that's when we should be. And the reason being is it's such a huge project to put it all together. Now we might be able to have other components earlier, but I think that's a realistic schedule because it's just something to consider. And this is where we might be able to pick different chunks of it to get
I
built.
was going to say, can you do, I mean, if you get design phase 1
Mm-hmm.
first, which is
A.
the worst one?
Yeah. I'm only calling it A.
Okay.
In the docs, we'll call it one, but
I
yeah.
thought you said A.
Yeah,
A,
I
hear
just
me,
call
could
A.
be, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you get that done first, can we move ahead with the construction on that end, or are we going to have to wait for the completion of the total design?
So as it sits, and this is just a, you did give pretty sage advice as far as for getting this. If you move forward with it, it'll be a series of different loans, which can be complicated. I guess it depends what rates are looking like. I mean, you're.
Well, my concern is that, right, I mean, you're going to see another 75 basis point bump this week, and
Mhm.
they're anticipating 50 to 75 next month, and then probably another one, and then rates maybe in 2024 start coming back down. But if it's at a point to where
Mhm.
we can commit to the loan project earlier
Right.
before rates skyrocket, and if you get a 0.018%, I mean, it's nothing
It's virtually
on
free,
that,
right?
and we can always prepay whatever, and just, I didn't know how soon you can go for that or not,
I believe it takes the completed design docs to move
Okay.
to that next stage, and that's why we can break it into pieces, but it might add some cost to it, and it's an option, and that's where we hopefully maybe things are coming back down in a couple of years, but or a year and a half or what, but a year and 2 months, but I don't know. So that's where it might be beneficial to, if we get one and the rates aren't, you will always get discounts,
right?
but obviously 0.02 is extraordinarily low in considering. If we could have locked it in back when we were first talking about it, it would have been zero, right? Because your first loan was zero. This one's most nearly zero. I was actually surprised it came in with any percent, but
Trying to get a more concrete answer before.
No, I think I understand where he's coming from, so it sounds like you've got to almost have to have a cost estimate.
correct. They want a plus or minus 5 to 10% type number, right? Otherwise, they won't commit to loaning the money because they want to know how much that money is. If they loan too much, they can only get so much done with their dollars.
Okay.
But I don't disagree if we could, I'll say even on a staff
We can
level.
borrow at 0.02 and invest at 4.5%, 5%.
That sounds
There you
awesome.
go.
I don't know.
Put some money on this.
The other,
I don't
the
think we
other,
legally can.
Arbitrage. No.
the other
We'll
thing.
take 100 million.
That was a joke.
Well, I was going to say the other piece of this is it is frequently done in phases A, B, C, D, right? And so it can take, and this is kind of what we were saying, is it may really take 4 to 5 years to really complete this, and that really that's really in your best interest. Otherwise, we kind of thought if you look 4 or 5 years back, you guys would have had almost 0% no matter what. Meaning that's what rates have been historically. You'll always get a pretty big discount. So I mean, we can work that in advance of going to pull the loan next time, and try to make sure that during construction it is low, because we also want to make sure we know what that value is going to be. Meaning, even if you pull a loan for, let's say that first chunk is $5 million, that's the biggest return on investment. Maybe you might be able to get we expect probably a 50% funding of that, and then that would mean that you're really only borrowing 2.5, and then but there may be also some debt forgiveness based on other policies that we don't know about, because the government's kind of been finding different ways to fund different projects, because they only have so many tentacles, and in this agency is not allowed to grant money, but they can forgive money. So we're hoping that might be an option, but
One more question. Don't mean to monopolize it here, but we got say 14 months for this design phase. Then it goes out to bid,
correct, yes.
and then when, just so the public knows and understands, when would actual construction you think start?
I would
2 years?
And I would
18
anticipate
months?
typically if it goes out to bid and we can hopefully have all the funding and docs and everything, it's, a reasonable schedule I think is about 1.5 years.
Okay.
That's what I would expect. While we're gonna push our people to try to crank this out so we can get it in for the next phase. I just want to be more realistic with it. Right.
Well, that's what I mean, I think people, I get asked all the time, what are we gonna do with the roller coaster ride? When are we gonna get rid of it? So, but realistically, we're 18 months out before there's dirt being turned on the first phase.
But luckily, I will say that there's certain items that I know your administrator's kind of trying to even out on the way there, at least make it not so bad on the way.
Okay. Yeah, I
and-
just want to be realistic too. So.
Yeah. And then the other is and this might as soon as this all gets approved, some of the early discussions are probably going to have to be easement acquisition, because one of your first phase type items, phase A, is Don, and I know it's become such a big deal because even before the hurricane it had some significant issues. There's another option that we'll kind of go over, but that one will require some reconveyance kind of to the main canal likely. And I know that's one of the first ones we're going to be surveying. Is we're going to try to hit those big ones first. But if we're not out here today, we're definitely out here this week on a lot of the surveying. We didn't want to jump the gun. Obviously, make sure this is approved first. Otherwise, we spend a lot of money without a loan to pay for it, right? So
Okay, thank you.
sure. Thank you.
Do you intend to have the same contractor for all phases? Or is that based on dollars? So sometimes you might have 4 contractors for 4 different phases.
Correct. I would think it would be in the contractor that wins the first one's best interest to bid on all phases, because they would know kind of the front end docs and everything, but I don't think we can control that.
Right. Okay.
But I would assume, and I think there's certain provisions against, I know there's Buy American type provisions and things like that, but there may be some provisions against just hiring a local, but I'm not certain of that. But I would anticipate some of your better local ones, let's say, that do work here all the time,
Right.
they're going to jump on some
Sure.
of these teams, and hopefully we find out what the list is early and he can talk to them. Because usually you'll see who's downloaded all the plans, and then your 3-4 local contractors who do this all the time can talk to them and say, hey, I know that area, I just did this work here, and they're gonna go, yeah, that sounds awesome, you would be great as a teammate.
Thank you.
Sure.
We
Scott,
just,
did you have, I'm sorry,
So-
go ahead.
we just want it right when it's all said and done.
Oh, yeah?
Yes,
We just
absolutely.
want it right, because it's a lot of money.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So before you all pass a motion on that, I want to talk about another document I have in front of you. It's got work release number 6 on top of it. And as you know, we had some difficulties with Don Drive and that general vicinity, actually before Hurricane Ian and then
Right after.
subsequent to Hurricane Ian, right? So I did ask the clerk to pull that out and give us a quote, because it could, in theory, be a standalone project in and of itself. And give us an estimate of what it would cost to engineer that project. And to engineer that project would be about $55,000 cost. I'm not sure that I would advocate pulling it out, because I don't think we save enough time. We may save, and we're kicking this around today, we may save about 6 months or so.
Right.
Over phase 1, because it is in phase 1.
Mhm.
But I also, I'm cognizant of the concerns that we have in that location. And, if we got it finished 6 months ahead of time,
Right.
but by my calculations, I still think we are past next hurricane season
Mhm.
before we were even to get this done.
At least, yeah.
So, having said that, I would say that we probably should still leave this in, this application here, and not pull it out,
Right.
and do it all at once, that particular phase, obviously, all at once.
You
Included
guys
in
met
that
out
phase.
there at the
And we did-
location?
Mhm.
We
Mr.
did meet
Storr,
out there
you-
today.
You were the liaison, did you go to that, or,
Yes.
you were there
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, and we're talking, we may be talking about 2 different things, because I'll also
Okay.
get to some road work that I'm gonna propose as
Mhm.
well.
Right?
Right. So, but as far as Don Drive and the stormwater infrastructure perspective, I think we should just leave it in the original application, go with that application, and just get to phase 1 as quickly as we can.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And I think the biggest argument against, I'm gonna do the baffling here and argue against splitting it off, because the additional fees are not worth it, in that what I see, the biggest hindrance we're gonna have is we're going to have to get some easements through there. And that can hold up a project longer than anything else, and so therefore what might happen is we actually start it earlier, and then it gets done later by no one's, just because it gets held up because you can't build it because we don't own the land. And because what we're talking about is kind of redirecting some of the flow.
Yeah, that's the part I think that I was most concerned about. It would actually open it up that much, to make it that much freer, and not gamble, if we will, with the current repair that already failed once as a result of all the water because of the hurricanes, correct?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
last
so
one.
there's and just I'll say, like, starting from you kind of work these things in reverse, like for a hydraulic profile, which is
Right.
kind of funny, but it's the end structure where it actually goes into the lake is too small, so it holds everything back, and then
it's
it
at a
spills
90
out.
And
Yeah.
it's at a 90-degree too, so it's got a 90-degree plus,
Yes.
the smaller
Right.
conveyance, if you will.
Well, that's the other interesting thing. Don has two conveyances. One is going actually down Don, and the other is kind of coming down, and it's the one to the north is supposed to be the major conveyance, but I believe that's not the way the water wants to go.
Right.
So we've got to force more of it back there,
Yeah.
open that up a bit, and then open up, because right now, even if you force it up there, it's not big enough.
It's a lot of water coming from up there
Mhm.
in a lot of different directions, and it's totally non-discriminatory.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's where we were, kind of, Talon knows the area extremely well, and was, we were kicking around some options, and
Yep.
we've got some ideas, but depending on, this is where, like, ground truth and getting real survey, like, it's ideas until we find out there's not a fall that way, or that's going to create a
Mhm.
swale that's 30 feet wide. That doesn't work, right? So it may be a culvert that goes across there, maybe a swale, but I think continuing the huge culvert that it would have to be down Dawn, that's going to have other impacts, because you have a pretty significant sanitary system adjacent to it. I don't really want to have to redo that for you as well. So because not that we wouldn't do it as far as designing it, it's just another added cost for you. So that's why we're trying to divert as much away from this as possible. But yeah, it's Scott said it perfectly, in that we may think we're going to save time, and then at the back end we don't. The other consideration too is if we split it out and we have it early, timing goes is you'd have to try to hit another event where you could apply for that loan under this. Otherwise, you got to fund it yourself.
Yep.
And that's one of the biggest sub projects. It's something in the range of $2+ million. So I don't want to. It's at least 1.5, if not 2. So just to build it. So I don't want to suggest that that's.
Well, you piqued my interest on something when you talked about the possibility of a larger culvert.
Oh yeah,
What
yeah.
that does is that shifts my mind back to what my profession was prior to this, and maybe it's part of this, which is public safety.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is a crazy question, but I'm going to ask it.
Mhm.
There's no such thing as a stupid question.
I can give you a stupid answer.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I've thought about this many times. I've discussed it with
Uh-huh.
Mr. Natelick. I've discussed it with our police chief. When I was police chief, I had people constantly calling me, and I know our chief does as well, as far as traffic calming
Mhm.
on Lakeview Drive, because it had been for many years the primary route around Lake Jackson. Now that
Correct.
we have the parkway, it takes some of the traffic away, but we still continue to fight with excessive speed on Lakeview Drive.
Mhm.
So when you just mentioned the culvert, is that not just a great opportunity to make that a speed table, and then maybe use those outfalls as a, or at least strategically placed along the way to calm the traffic? Traffic calming devices they're all around us now, but we
Yes.
don't have any here.
You've got a roundabout that the
Yeah, we got-
county
we got-
put in.
we got
But
the
yeah,
roundabout.
but
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. There's no speed tables. Yes, you're
But
right.
and I think
I don't disagree.
roundabouts, and if I'm not mistaken, roundabouts are much more expensive than speed trains.
Yeah. Yes,
A lot
yes. They're not. Yeah. The
So, when
Land
you talk
allowed,
about
right.
folks who go out to the hammock and they have to go over the speed trace and it really does calm traffic down,
Mhm.
and you go up to Sun and Lake North, I think this is something that we, as a group, really need to discuss and say, look, we're spending a lot of money. Let's spend some good money to calm the traffic, to slow the traffic down on Lakeview Drive. Lakeview Drive's not meant to be a speedway. And from my past experience, and if I'm wrong,
No, you're right.
feel free to correct me,
Mhm.
that the straightaways
Yes.
is where they strategically place speed calming devices.
Mhm.
Speed humps are out, That's not a good idea. Speed trays are
Yeah.
more of the what's called more modern engineering way of calming traffic. And I'd like to see this council and maybe you guys at our direction, take a look at that. How could that work into our plan? And is it even appropriate to be discussing it now? I don't know that, but I'm throwing it out.
We could, I'll say, once we get into design, yeah, I mean, we're going to be meeting with your team a lot, so I think, is it tomorrow or next week, your new Public Works Director's starting? So, yeah, next week, so, yeah, we don't have an opinion, you know, for or against, but yeah, they absolutely work.
Like those big culverts out there. Use them as part of the speed tray.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
sorry, that's my civilian mind thinking in a way that might save our taxpayers some money.
yeah, well, I was gonna say I think we're talking, that one is something where, I think we've estimated it's something like
I'm sure the police
6 feet
chief
by
would-
4 feet
would
or
like
something.
that. That
so
would
it's-
save
yeah.
manpower, time, radar, bad feelings within the community when they need to just learn to calm down and drive the speed limit.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so I said my piece on that. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, thank you.
We'll just wait for the winter residents to get here, and it's down to 19 miles an hour anyway, so.
Not on Lakeview Drive, sir. Not in my section. I don't know about yours, but oh boy. Any other discussion up here, Mr. Bishop? Nope.
So
Mr. Nadler, how would you like this
I want to entertain a
structure?
motion on this first, and then let's talk about the proposal from Excavation Point.
Okay, so would you like the request for motion to be as it is stated here on the agenda? Is that what you're
Yes.
looking for?
What's-
Yes, I'm sorry.
Apologies, I think this one requires a resolution, right?
There are 3 separate
They are.
resolutions.
Okay, all right, cool.
The
yeah.
motion will include
I
all
ju-
the resolutions.
Yeah,
All right,
they're
all right,
all
great,
on.
yes, yeah.
Scott
They're all
made-
on.
I should have looked at you, I'm like, I think it
Sure, you got-
requires
you
it?
got the
Yeah.
family back here.
Okay,
So
yep, yep.
so it's like
I'll
your
sit
A,
down.
B, C, and D. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Anyone from the public like to chime in on this very expensive project that is totally necessary and will take about 5 years to complete? Anyone up here want to make a motion or discuss it or anything such as that?
I'll make a motion.
I'll be darned.
We need to read all this?
Yes, you do.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
I make a motion, we approve the FDEP loan application as presented and authorize the city administrator to sign and submit the application. Approve resolution number 2022-26 as presented.
3.
Approve resolution number 2022-27, authorizing budget amendment number 10 as presented. And
Number 4.
approve resolution 2022-28, authorizing budget amendment number 251 as presented.
Got it.
Or
Got
as
a
he
motion
said,
on-
A, B, C, and
And
D.
D. Yes. We have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Bishop. Any other discussion on this topic? Anyone from the audience? Kathy, call the roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Dutton.
Yes. Item 10A.
Well,
We got-
So
we
is
got-
it- Oh, yeah. Scott, did you want to talk about the
Yes, sir.
excavation point proposal?
So, obviously, what we just approved is gonna take a while.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, Councilman Stewart, myself, our Public Works foreman, and Excavation Point met out on that section of Lakeview. And, we asked him to identify what he deemed to be the areas in most critical need or the worst areas to drive over. So he came back with, 10 projects or proposals for correction, and that's in front of you. And he came back with a price to fix those areas or lay asphalt, if you will, in those areas of approximately $56,000. So what I'm asking for you all to do is make a motion to approve that acceptable to you and authorize me to sign.
The bid number 19002, is that what you're wanting a motion on?
Correct.
His pricing is based on that contract. The 10 projects that he's referring to are listed under
Right.
that bolded. And so you would be approving this proposal dated 11/1/2022 if you wish to move forward with it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry?
So if you were to word the requested motion for him, and he would say, yes, that's what it is, can we do that?
Yes, sir.
Try that. You wanna do it that way, so he'll have everything covered in there?
Sure.
Okay.
So if you would like to have this work done, you would move to approve Excavation Point Incorporated's proposal dated November 1, 2022 regarding Lakeview Drive asphalt repairs dash Fairmont Lane to Don Jose's in the total amount of $55,937.
Is
That's
that
a
what you-
motion, Kathy.
I got it.
That's Mr. Carlisle's motion. Do I hear a second to
good.
that motion? Or any discussion?
Second.
We got a second.
You got a
right?
second from Mr. Bishop? Anyone like to discuss this any further?
Maybe we could
Yep.
talk the county into fixing a manhole on West Center and Park Street, 'cause they're up about an inch now.
West Center and Park Street.
That's county road, correct?
If we don't do this, it's degraded to the point that we're losing sidewalk, part of the seawall. It's
Right,
just-
yeah.
It could
It
get
has
real
to happen.
nasty.
So,
If we have another storm of any
well,
event.
it doesn't have to be a hurricane
No, it
to do
doesn't.
this. So.
No, it
And it'll help, the mayor was saying, people are constantly asking, when are you gonna do something, when are you gonna do something? This will help smooth things out a little
Sure,
bit,
sure.
you know.
Is
it's-
there anyone from the audience like to chime in on this before we take our vote? Anyone not want us to fix that?
And keep riding the
What
bump.
it comes right down to. Anyone not want us to spend $55,937 to fix that? Kathy, call the roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Item this time, 10A. It's Tennille Drury Smith. She would like to talk to us about modifications to the Sebring Christmas on the Circle event.
Good
Hi,
evening.
Tennille.
Good evening.
So since I've came to you in July, we've had a few changes and additions to our event that have required us to make some modifications downtown with the layout of the event. One of which is we're going to be having a ice skating rink, which is pretty crazy to believe that we can do that, but we can. It has to be on a level surface. The first location we looked at was owned by a private individual, and they denied our request to use it. So the only other location that we can place the ice skating rink that we can see is the parking lot owned by the city off East Mango and Center. So I'm requesting use of that. And with that, we do have to close that street a little bit earlier than we had planned. So we would need it closed from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then we're also going to be including some other activities as far as cookie decorating, this huge inflatable snow maze, and then this life-size snow globe. We will be selling armbands for that, and I will tell you that we posted the armbands for sale yesterday for the first time, and we've already sold 60. So we think this event is probably going to be very well received and a big hit for our community, and we hope to have it from years to come. The other, because of that street change, we had to shift the stage, and with that, we have to shift the stage to South Commerce, and we need to have that closed starting at 10 a.m. as well, versus the 4 p.m. that we had previously had approved. So those are the changes I'm coming to you today. We're really excited about this event. And just a side note, the Christmas parade is filling up nicely. everything seems to be coming together. It was a little overwhelming at first, taking on that project, but I think it's going to be a fun 2 days for our community in downtown.
Well, thank you for taking over that event and for extending all of these really nice amenities for our holiday season. I think we all greatly appreciate that. And for those of you out who don't know this lady, this is Tenille Drury Smith. She's the president and CEO of our Sebring Chamber of Commerce. She's a very nice lady, and she's great to work with.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate that. And I will say too, on a side note, that John Spiegel, I have consulted with him on everything. He is on board with everything. I know that's important, and with the Carousel of Lights is only going to be a great addition to our event, enhance both ways. So.
And the parking lot you're referring to, for the folks out here, is the parking lot on the corner right next to the fire department's administration building?
Yes.
Okay, and the chief is okay, the fire chief is okay with that, for that application, because sometimes they, I know, use that for some staging and operations.
I know he was CC'd and we've been corresponding, so I think that he
Shaking his
was.
head, yes.
I don't even see him out here. Hey, your hand, he's got his thumb up, good
Thank
deal.
you.
Thanks, chief, I'm sorry I didn't see you there.
So, and we appreciate it, because that literally is the only level spot that we could
Right.
do it in, so.
And it has to be a parking lot?
It doesn't have to be, but.
I'm just thinking about the Nance Eswee property.
So
Did
we
you think
wanted.
about that?
Yeah, we did, but it can't be grass.
Oh, okay, that's
The only thing it can't be.
Yeah. It has to be asphalt,
Well,
concrete.
It would just
That
be.
would have been wonderful.
Oh, it would have
Yeah,
been.
that was my
great.
first, honestly, my first
Yeah.
location, and then the company came back and said it can't be a grass lot, or we have to build a platform, which, would be a
Okay.
huge
Or you
added
pave it.
expense.
Would make a nice parking lot.
Yes, it would.
If you put us, and I'm just gonna say this, you put a parking lot there and public restrooms, because we have no public
Well,
restrooms.
parking is gonna be a
You
bigger
know.
issue day by day, shortly.
Yes.
You watch.
Right, that's what I'm
You
saying,
got
that
that
would be a
right,
great
Mark.
place for a parking
Yeah.
lot and public restrooms anyway, but.
Okay, so.
I
back-
was just a thought, because it's more,
Yes.
Any other
Thank
comments
you.
on Ms. Smith's request? We have how about a motion?
I make a motion we approve the modifications to the Sebring Christmas on the circle as presented.
We hear a second. Second. And a second from Mr. Bishop. Anyone from the audience like to talk on this issue? You're just scratching your head? It's a good thing you're not at an auction. Kathy, call the roll.
So,
Bishop.
Sold. Yes.
Carlisle.
yes,
Stewart.
Yes.
Tutman.
Yes.
thank you
very
for
Thank you very much.
doing
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you, Tenille.
Our next item, I will open this up, it's item 10B on your agenda. I will open this up as a public hearing. Public hearing resolution 20-22-23, establishing utility rates for fiscal year 2022-23, and I will immediately turn this over for introduction of that resolution to the very capable Mr. Robert Swain.
Thank you, sir. Florida Statute 180.191 allows for the city to charge outside city customers more than inside city customers because of the additional cost in providing service outside the municipal boundaries. And this resolution will establish rates that become effective in December of this year for next year. It is Resolution 2022-23, and it's entitled, "A Resolution Establishing New Rates and Fees for Sewer System Charges, Sewer Connection Fees for Master Meter, Water Meter Setting and Connection Fees, Single-Family Residential Connection Fees, Master Meter Residential Connection Fees, Additional System Development Charges, Commercial Connection Fees, Portable Temporary Services, Monthly Water-Based Charges, Water Use Charges, Construction Water Rates, and confirming all other existing rates, fees, and charges for the sewer and water systems of the City of Sebring, Florida, beginning December 1, 2022. I believe Mr. Bogus has additional information.
Okay, so the purpose of this public hearing is to receive input from the public on this resolution, which will increase water rates by 5% and sewer rates by 10%. And for the background on that, Mr. Bob Bogus.
Good evening.
Sir.
During our budget process, council instructed staff to prepare
I was asking some young lady filled out a paper, but she never turned it in.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I didn't see that, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
There's a
Somebody
business from the
turned-
audience forum that.
Oh, did we miss that?
No.
No, we're not missing it.
Okay,
I just
you're
noticed-
just jumping in. You're a good man.
Excuse me.
Oh, no, you didn't jump ahead. I thank you for bringing that to our attention. Now, Mr. Bob Bogus, you may proceed.
Thank you, sir. Anyway, as I was saying, during our budget process, council instructed staff to prepare for a 5% water rate increase and a 10% sewer rate increase. All of our customers received notice on their October billing statement, and we've also, I think that was published in the newspaper as well, to take care of the notification requirements. We've used a 10,000 gallon comparison to see just how much it would cost customers monthly if they use 10,000 gallons based on a standard 5/8 by 3/4 inch water meter. And if you're inside the city with water and sewer, that cost per month would be $4.84. If you're outside the city limits with water and sewer, that would be $5.69 increase. That's assuming you're using 10,000 gallons of water. The estimated projection of increased revenue by the 5 and 10% increases would be over $613,000 for the remainder of the year. This does not go into effect, assuming council approves it tonight. It would not go into effect, as Mr. Swain said, until December 1st of this year. A little more, just to show you, I know we've kind of lumped a lot in that at $4.84 and the $5.69, but to break it out, the base charge, in other words, what we charge just for the service being on, that would increase for inside customers, here again, based on the 5/8 by 3/4 inch meter, would increase 47 cents. If you're outside, it would increase 68 cents. The flow charge inside would increase 13 cents, and outside it would increase 18 cents. On the sewer, inside would increase $2.56, and outside $3.20. I also want to mention to council at this time that this only applies to Sebring customers. If you were a customer of Highlands Utilities, the Sebring Airport, all these systems that we've acquired that had their own rate structure, those are remaining in place and would not be affected by this, primarily because their rate structure already generates more revenue. So until our rates match their rates,
Catch up to
it
them,
will
in other
remain
words.
the same for those customers. Yes, sir.
And Bob, just as a point of interest for the public, please correct me if I'm mistaken, the average household never uses, or very seldom uses 10,000 gallons, which is our example. They use probably less than 3,000 gallons. Is that about right?
Well, we did a system average this afternoon, in fact, and we found, based upon the consumption for residential use now, nothing more than resident,
Correct.
and divided by the number of residential connections we have,
Right.
it's about 4,000 gallons.
About 4,000
Yes,
gallons.
sir. And we
So
did. I'm sorry.
They're not even halfway toward the $10,000, I'm sorry, the 10,000 gallons that we use as an example. Let's say you have a swimming pool, or they used our city water to irrigate their lawns.
Correct.
That'd be very difficult to use 10,000 gallons.
Right. And the sewer, we're still under a flat rate. So no
Okay.
matter how much water you use, it doesn't impact the sewer charge.
Correct.
The water charge, our rate structure is still fixed. In other words, it is not an inclining block rate like so many cities have gone to, which makes it the more you use, the more expensive it gets. So our is a flat rate, no matter if you use 1,000 or 100,000, it's all the same rate.
Okay.
Bobby, I know you've done, you and Kim have done some research. Even with this rate increase, where does that put us in relationships to other cities?
Bernard, we went back and looked at, with the 10,000 gallons, of course, I think y'all had a copy of that in your packet. But what we did was we went back and said, if you use 3,000 gallons, how would we compare with the other cities that we've compared ourselves to? And if you use 3,000 gallons, we're at number 12 out of 17. Now, the reason for that is the other cities have an inclining block rate, and they allow 3,000 gallons within their base rate. We do not do that. Our base rate is just that base, and then flow charge is on top of that.
Okay.
So if you used an outside the city, our rate would we would come in number 7 out of 10. So when you look at that, we're a little, rated a little higher because of our rate structure.
Right.
It gets better though the more you use. Theirs gets worse, ours gets better.
Okay.
If you use 5,000,
Yeah.
we then go to number 8
Okay.
out of 17. That's for inside, and number 7 for outside the city. And then you know what the 10,000 gallon looks like. We're at number 7 for inside and number 6. So we're right about the middle for 5 and 10. A little bit higher on the 3.
Okay, so the intent of this public hearing is to solicit the public's comments, input, and questions. Phone lines are open. Anyone like to make any comments, any questions? Offer any input? Save water? Save water, drink beer, whatever. None? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close this public hearing. Okay, public hearing is closed. Council's questions and comments. Gentlemen, it's our turn. Nothing?
Well, I know, everything's going up.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's going up. I own a business and I've seen bunches of increases. I'm paying 3 times more for fuel than I did a year ago. We have a sewer plant down, fixing to have it repaired. So we have things that happen that people don't see. What's the estimate, Bobby, on the sewer plant?
Well, fixing the plant, it came in about $18,000.
$18,000 to just fix a wall.
Yeah,
Just to fix a metal wall.
amazing, isn't it?
So, we don't want to increase anything. We would like to lower things, but because of things going up, we have to kind of adjust as a city as well. So,
PVC's up 40%.
I know, I bought it. Yeah, he was just saying PVC pipe, I own an irrigation company, is up 40%.
Wow.
Same with the black polyethylene. I used to pay $30 a roll, now I'm paying over $100 for the same product. So everything has just went skyrocket. So we don't do this because we want to. We're doing this to keep the city, so we can give you the quality services that we're proud to give you.
Yeah, I think it boils right down to our job is to spend the taxpayers' money as efficiently as we possibly can. And I can guarantee you, knowing these folks up here and been serving with them and watching them over the last, God knows so many years, they do that. They really do. And they do a real good job of it, so I'm proud to be a part of this group.
Just remember, whatever we do, we pay it too.
Yeah, that's right. We have to live in the city limits too, so if there's any pain, we share your pain. We share your pain as well. Well, at that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2022-23 establishing utility rates effective December 1st, 2022 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion,
I'll second that.
and we have a second from Mr. Carlisle, motion from Mr. Stewart. Anyone from the audience want to discuss this any further? Kathy, call the roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
let's see.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Business from the audience. I think we do have someone here. Ms. Navarro? Come on up. You'd like to discuss the first annual Sebring Health and Beauty Convention.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Council. My name is Maidelis, and I'm the Assistant Director at South Beach Beauty Academy. And I'm so nervous. I'm sorry, guys. It's
Don't
my
worry
first
about it.
time. And yeah, I want to do the first annual Sebring Health and Beauty convention. We want to do 50 plus booths. We're trying to keep it at 50 because we don't have that much of a big area in the Civic Center. But we also want to give attention to nutrition, and we want to do like healthy options for food, healthy food trucks or 10 by 10 tents with healthy options, local options. I think that they don't get enough recognition, so I do want to give them a little bit of that in the convention. To do this, I wanted to put the food outside so we have more space for the booths inside. So in order to do that, I'm asking you guys permission to use the parking lot on the side of the Civic Center.
Have you been in touch with anyone at City Hall yet regarding the use of the Civic Center and all of that? You've already got the wheels in motion?
Yes,
Okay.
and they told
I
us
met
to
with
speak.
her.
Well, you did
Yeah.
meet with her. Thank you,
And
Kathy.
She and another lady, and what I was showing her was the footprint of the Civic Center. When you
Yes.
rent the Civic Center, you have the space, the little foyer outside and on the front and on the back.
Right.
And then when she started talking about bringing the food trucks in, they wanted to put it in the cul-de-sac, I call it the cul-de-sac.
The cul-de-sac at the end,
You
sure.
know. And I said, okay, now you're gonna be blocking off public entrance of where people park to go down there.
Right.
So after talking to Scott and Penny, I felt like it was more of a special event
Mhm.
because you're closing off public
I think you're
access
right.
to that.
Mhm.
Because obviously we don't want anybody parking there while there's food trucks and then trying to back out and
Okay.
stuff. So I recommended to them to come before council to ask for that blocking off so they could establish their food trucks in that
Okay.
area and use it more of a special event, which would require the insurance and all of that.
So that would prompt my only question, which would be, would that inhibit at all any emergency response from either police or fire if they were to utilize that area down toward the cul-de-sac and the parking against the seawall there? Chiefs,
No.
they're both saying it doesn't. You mean, you're good. You got 2 thumbs up? All right, so far so good. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
I thought all food trucks were healthy.
Food truck. That's what I need, another food truck.
When is your event?
April 29th next year. So
Okay.
we got 6 months to be able to plan this.
Oh, good.
And I
Great.
think it's going to be great.
She
Yeah.
just wanted to go ahead and reserve the Civic Center and stuff, but she kind of wanted to make sure that she had that before she started
Sure.
planning her date and then didn't get
Yeah.
approval from you
Sure.
guys to be able to do that.
Yep.
Sounds good to
Does she
me.
have an application?
Yeah. Bob, that's all right.
Yeah, that's what I was
Oh,
saying
yeah.
about
Do
the
you,
insurance.
do you have the liability, the insurance that's required by the city anytime we have a special event, so a $1 million umbrella policy that will?
I do not, but
Right.
I'm willing to do what it
I think
takes.
Kathy will walk you through that again too, if
Penny
that's
handles
okay.
that actually, and so I didn't know if Penny, and that's my wrong, I didn't know if Penny had already talked to her, because she actually talked to Penny also
plenty of
before
time.
me.
You have
So-
got a lot of time. You see the lady in the last row there,
Waiting
waiting
for
to you?
him.
That's who you're gonna talk to, so get with her this evening and find out when you guys can get together, and then we'll go from there. But that's all part of it, and then you'll probably bring it back again as part of a special event so that we can vote on it. No? Don't have to?
I don't think so. If you guys want to make a motion now.
You
No.
can do it tonight, you can ask her to come back if you'd rather see it all as a package, but sounds like you're in
She's just
favor
trying to
of
go
it.
ahead and
As
get
long
the
as she
date
gets it
reserved
out
so
of
she
pocket.
can
I
advertise.
don't
Yeah.
think we need to, do you?
No.
No, as long as she does everything, I'll make a motion that we approve the event.
Based on getting the insurance.
Yeah,
Yeah, based on the insurance.
Of course.
Sure.
Of course. How about a second?
Second.
Mr. Bishop's a second on that. Audience, it's your turn.
I can't wait to see healthy food.
We've got to
trucks.
come up with something interesting here to get you guys to come back. All right.
Thank you so
Kathy,
much,
call the
Council.
roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Detman.
Yes.
Mr. Navarro, we do need you to get an application
Hotline.
as soon as possible, so we can set that up with Penny also to get
Yes,
that
ma'am.
done.
Does she have to sign that indemnification agreement also?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure Penny will get that taken care of
Yeah,
with the
Penny has that
indemnification
on her
agreement and
end, yeah.
everything else. So make sure,
Okay, okay.
make sure you
Thank
see
you.
Penny and get everything she needs together for us, okay?
Good luck with it.
Thank you
We
so much,
appreciate it.
Council.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Go forth and do good things.
Thank you.
Pass that back to Kathy for me. Where are we? We
12A,
are
sir.
at number 12A, a proposed ordinance amending section 5-188 with regard to municipal code liens. This will be for second and final reading.
Yeah, and then we have to do this.
Yeah.
We do indeed.
Mr. Swain, please.
As I also have to read the title, sorry for that.
Yep, that's okay.
Ordinance 1508 is entitled an ordinance amending section 5-188G of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring, deleting super priority status of municipal code enforcement liens, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. This is on for second and final.
Okay, discussion, comments? Anyone make a
I make a motion, we approve proposed ordinance number 1508 on second and final reading as presented.
Got a motion? Entertain a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Bishop. Anyone from the audience? Kathy, call a roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. Item 13A, city administrator business. It looks like we've got some pickleball courts that are heading toward Charlie Brown Park. Mr.
Yes.
Natelick.
Yes, sir. We're getting ever so much closer to having our own pickleball court.
Good, good, good.
So, during the budget process, council approved a $200,000 budget for the Charlie Brown pickleball courts. City solicited bids, or construction of the project, and one bid was received. An evaluation committee comprised of Greg Griffin, Mark Stewart, and Dana Adams, who's a local champion for pickleball in Highlands County, found the firm to be both responsive and responsible to complete the project, and recommended the purchasing agent post an intent to award. The total proposed price from NIDE is $155,000. That does not include the sunshade area, water fountain, lighting, and electric. We've estimated those costs to be at about $70,000 for a total project cost approximate to be $225,000. An intent to award was posted to vendor registry on September 26, 2022. I do plan to attend the November 17th RPAC Advisory Committee meeting to ask for a 50-50 cost share of that total price.
That's the part we like the best.
Yes.
Just make sure that happens. Your job depends on this.
Send Steve.
Yeah. Yes, and Steve, the new guy.
That's right, the new guy. right?
Perfect. You'll only be here 10 days and just throw him right under the bus.
And just for everybody's edification, it looks as if they're going to start in February, maybe March.
Okay.
So,
Anything
and it'll
else?
take about, what was it, did he tell us about?
3 months. Well, he said 2, but
3.
but
Mark
it'll
knows.
be 3. I know contractors.
That's
No
what,
way.
that's what he does with his customers.
Time is money.
He tells
hangs out
them
with them
2
all the
and they
time.
know it's 3. That's
Time
okay.
is money, 2 months.
All right. What else up here? Pickleball court time.
Mark's the pickleball guy.
I am.
He's
You want to make this motion?
Yeah.
Is this good? You like pickleball?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
All right.
The $1.98 beauty contest. Go right ahead.
I make a motion, we approve the recommendation from the evaluation committee to award NIDE Sports Construction the professional design and reconstruction of Charlie Brown Park, tennis / pickleball courts, and to direct the city administrator to approach RPAC for 50% of the funding, and instruct the city attorney to prepare the contracts for the negotiated terms.
Okay, we've got a motion on the table.
I'll second it.
And we got a second by Mr. Carlisle. Anyone from the audience like to discuss the pickleball courts?
Never seen Mark so giddy.
He's
Giddy?
excited.
Am I getting right now?
Yeah, he's excited.
He may not even run for election.
I'm publicly not running for election.
There you go. All right, so we've got a motion and a second. Anything else want to talk about the pickleball courts? Going. Kathy, call the roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bettman.
Sure. Yes. Okay, last but certainly not least, our city, our certified municipal
Now, I
clerk,
have two things.
has two
So don't
things.
jump out of here.
You have
No,
two
no.
things on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Okay, council needs
Congratulations.
to approve the payment of the bills, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we're gonna pay the bills. Anybody not want us to pay the bills? Kathy, call the roll on that one.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Bettman.
Yes. And?
Okay, hold on. My next thing is, there'll be 3 vacancies coming up, as of December 31st on our code enforcement board.
Wow.
If you wish to be a member of this board, you must reside within the city limits of Sebring. That's a little bit different than some of our others where you have to be engaged inside this, you have to reside inside the city limits of Sebring. Anyone wishing to apply can go to the city's website, the application is on there, and return it to my office. This vacancies will remain open until filled, so we could get, applications sooner rather than later, and so.
And folks, over the years, I've worked quite a bit with the Code Enforcement Board. This is a really, really important board. This makes the real difference in the appearance of our city overall. So if you have any interest in serving, you get paid about as much as we do. You get
Less.
the privilege
Less.
of
You get
representing the
nothing.
city. You get actually paid less. You get paid $1 less than we do. But you'd be very proud to be a member of the Code Enforcement Board to make our town look as nice
I
as it
actually
possibly
sat on
can.
that board 8.5
I
years.
remember when you did. You did.
Eight
Before
and
you
a
were
half
councilman,
years,
you were
yeah.
on the board for a long time.
Yeah,
And
8
and
and a
you
half.
did a good job with that too.
Well, thank you.
Darn, man.
Yeah.
So,
I love the city.
see Kathy Haley if you'd like to apply for any one of those 3 vacant positions coming up. Is there anything else before the board for this evening? Mr. Swain?
No, sir. Thank you.
Nothing else? Anybody else? Hammer's gonna drop. We're done.
Yay.
Good night, everyone.